How Horatius Kept the Bridge, by Thomas Babington Macaulay. Last Postner of Clusium, by the 9 gods he swore that the great house of Tarquin should suffer wrong no more. By the 9 gods he swore it, and named a trysting day, and bade his messengers ride forth, east and west and south and north, to summon his array. East and west and south and north the messengers ride fast. Now tower and town and cottage have heard the trumpets blast. Shame on the false Etruscan who lingers in his home when Postner of Clusium is on the march for Rome. The horsemen and the footmen are pouring in amain from many a stately marketplace, from many a fruitful plain, from many a lonely hamlet which, hid by beech and pine, like an eagle's nest hangs on the crest of purple Apennine, from lordly Volaterrae, where scowls the far-famed hold, piled by the hands of giants for godlike kings of old, from sea-girt Populonia, whose sentinels descry Sardinia's snowy mountain tops fringing the southern sky, from the proud mart of Pisae, queen of the western waves, where ride Massilia's triremes heavy with fair-haired slaves, from where sweet Clanis wanders mid corn and vines and flowers, from where Cortona lifts to heaven her diadem of towers. Tall are the oaks, whose acorns drop in dark houses rill, fat are the stags that champ the boughs of the Ciminian hill. Best of all above all hills Clitumnus is to the herdsman dear, best of all pools the fowler loves the wide Volsinian mere. But now no stroke of woodman is heard on Narsus rill, no hunter tracks the stag's green path up the Ciminian hill. Unwatched along Clitumnus grazes the milk-white steer, unharmed the waterfowl may dip in the Volsinian mere. The harvest of Horatium this year old men shall reap, this year young boys in Umbro shall plunge the struggling sheep, and in the vats of Luna this year the must shall foam round the white feet of laughing girls whose sires have marched to Rome. There be 30 chosen prophets, the wisest in the land, who always by last portion of both morn and evening stand. Evening and morn the 30 have turned the verses o'er, traced from the right on linen white by mighty seers of yore. And with one voice the 30 have their glad answer given. Go forth, last Postner, go forth, beloved of heaven, go, and return in glory to Clusium's royal dome, and hang round Nursia's altars the golden shields of Rome. And now hath every city sent up her tale of men, the foot of 80,000, the horse of thousands 10. Before the gates of Sutrium has met the great array. A proud man was last Postner upon the trysting day, for all the Etruscan armies were ranged beneath his eye, and many a banished Roman, and many a stout ally. And with a mighty following to join the muster came the Tusculan Mamilius, prince of the Latian name. But by the yellow Tiber, its tumult and affright, from all the spacious Champaign to Rome men took their flight. A mile around the city the throng stopped up the ways, a fearful sight it was to see through 2 long nights and days, for aged folks on crutches, and women great with child, and mothers sobbing over babes that clung to them and smiled, and sick men borne on litters high on the necks of slaves, and troops of sunburnt husbandmen with reaping hooks and staves, and droves of mules and asses laden with skins of wine, and endless flocks of sheep and goats, and endless herds of kine, and endless trains of wagons that creaked beneath the weight of corn sacks and of household goods, choked every roaring gate. Now from the rock Tarpeian might the Wendburgers spy the line of blazing villages, red in the midnight sky. The fathers of the city they sat, all night and day, for every hour some horseman came with tidings of dismay. To eastward and to westward have spread the Tuscan bands, nor house, nor fence, nor dovecot in Crustumerium stands. Aster hath Verbenna down to Ostia hath wasted all the plain. Aster hath stormed Janiculum, and the stout guards are slain. I wis in all the senate there was no heart so bold, but sore it ached and fast it beat when that sad news was told. Forthwith uprose the consul, uprose the fathers all. In haste they girded up their gowns, and hied them to the wall. They held a council, standing before the river gate. Short time was there, ye well may guess, for musing or debate. Outspake the consul roundly, the bridge must straight go down, for since Janiculum is lost, naught else can save the town. Just then a scout came flying, all wild with haste and fear. To arms, Sir Consul! Last Postner is here! On the low hills to westward the consul fixed his eye, and saw the swarthy storm of dust rise fast against the sky. And nearer still and nearer doth the red whirlwind come, and louder still and yet more loud from underneath that rolling cloud is heard the trumpet's war note proud, the trampling and the hum, and plainly and more plainly. Now through the gloom appears, far to left and far to right, in broken gleams of dark blue light, the long array of helmets bright, the long array of spears. But the consul's brow was sad, and the consul's speech was low, and darkly looked he at the wall, and darkly at the foe. Their van will be upon us before the bridge goes down. And if they once may win the bridge, what hope to save the town? Then out spake brave Horatius, the captain of the gate. To every man upon this earth death cometh, soon or late. And how can man die better than facing fearful odds, for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods, and for the tender mother who dandled him to rest, and for his wife who nurses his baby at her breast, and for the holy maidens who feed the eternal flame to save them from false sextors who wrought the deed of shame. Hew down the bridge, Sir Consul, with all the speed ye may. I, with 2 more to help me, will hold the foe in play. In yon straight path 1,000 may yet be stopped by 3. Now, who will stand on either hand, and keep the bridge with me? Then outspake spurious Lartius, a Ramnian proud was he. Lo, I will stand on thy right hand and keep the bridge with thee. And outspake brave Herminius, of Titian blood was he. I will abide on thy left side and keep the bridge with thee. Horatius, quoth the consul, as thou sayest, so let it be. And straight against that great array forth went the dauntless 4. Romans in Rome's quarrel spared neither land nor gold nor son nor wife nor limb nor life. In the brave days of old, then none was for a party, then all were for a state. Then the rich man helped the poor, and the poor man loved the great. Then lands were fairly portioned, then spoils were fairly sold. The Romans were like brothers in the brave days of old. Now Roman is to Roman more deadly than a foe, and the tribunes beard the high, and the fathers grind the low. As we wax hot in faction, in battle we wax cold. Wherefore men fight not as they fought in the brave days of old. Now, as the 3 were tightening their harness on their backs, the consul was the foremost man to take in hand an axe, and fathers mixed with common seized hatchet, bar and crow, and smote upon the planks above, and loosed the props below. Meanwhile, the Tuscan army, right glorious to behold, came flashing back the noonday light, rank upon rank, like surges bright of a broad sea of gold. 400 trumpets sounded, a peal of warlike glee, as that great array with measured tread and the spears advanced and ensigns spread, rolled slowly towards the bridge's head, where stood the dauntless 3. The 3 stood calm and silent, and looked upon their foes, and a great shout of laughter from all the vanguard rose, and forth 3 chiefs came spurring before that deep array. To earth they sprang, their swords they drew, and lifted high their shields, and flew to win the narrow way. Ornus from green to Fernum, lord of the hill of vines, and Seius, whose 800 slaves sicken in Ilva's mines, and Picus, long to Clusium vassal in peace and war, who led to fight his Umbrian powers from that grey crag, where, girt with towers, the fortress of Nequinum lowers o'er the pale waves of Nar. Stout Lartius hurled Ornus into the stream beneath. Herminius struck at Seius and clove him to the teeth. At Picus' throat Horatius darted one fiery thrust, and the proud Umbrian's gilded arms clashed in the bloody dust. Then Ocnus of Valerii rushed on the Roman 3, and Lausulus of Ergo, the rover of the sea, and Picus, who slew the great wild boar that had its den along the reeds of Cosus Fen, and wasted fields and slaughtered men along Albinia's shore. Held down Ocnus. Anyway, so Herminius held down Ocnus. So they knocked us low, straight to the heart of Lausulus. Horatius sent a blow. Lie there, he cried, fell pirate. No more, aghast and pale. So from Ostia's walls the crowd shall mark the track of thy destroying bark. No more. Campania's hinds shall fly to woods and caverns when they spy thy thrice accursed sail. But now, no sound of laughter was heard among the foes. A wild and wrathful clamour from all the vanguard rose. 6 spears length from the entrance halted that deep array, and for a space no man came forth to win the narrow way. Was none who would be foremost to lead such dire attack, but those behind cried forward, and those in front cried back, and backwards now and forwards wavers that deep array. To and fro the standards reel, and the triumphant trumpet peal dies fitfully away. Yet one man, for one moment, strode out before the crowd. Well known was he to all the three, and they gave him greeting loud. Now, welcome, welcome, Sextus. Now welcome to thy home. Why dost thou stay and turn away? Here lies the road to Rome. Thrice looked he at the city, thrice looked he at the dead, and thrice came on in fury, and thrice turned back in dread, and white with fear and hatred stood scowling at the way where, wallowing in a pool of blood, the bravest Tuscans lay. But hark, the cries Astur, and lo, the ranks divide, and the great lord of Luna comes with his stately stride. Upon his ample shoulders clangs loud the fourfold shield, and in his hand he shakes the brand, which none but he may wield. He smiled on those bold Romans, a smile serene and high. He eyed the flinching Tuscans, and scorn was in his eye. Quoth he, "She-wolf's litter stands savagely at bay, but will ye dare to follow if Astur clears the way?" Then, whirling up his broadsword with both hands to the height, he rushed against Horatius and smote with all his might. With shield and blade Horatius right deftly turned the blow. The blow, though it turned, came yet too nigh. It missed his helm, but gashed his thigh. The Tuscans raised a joyful cry to see the red blood flow. He reeled, and on Herminius he leaned one breathing space. Then, like a wildcat mad with wounds, sprang right at Astur's face. Through teeth and skull and helmet, so fierce a blow he sped, the good sword stood a hand's breadth out behind the Tuscan's head, and the great lord of Luna fell at that fatal stroke, as falls on Mount Alvernus a thunder-smitted oak. Far o'er the crashing forest the mighty arms lie spread, and the proud augurs, muttering low, gaze on the blasted head. On Astur's throat Horatius right firmly pressed his heel, and thrice and 4 times tugged amain ere he wrenched out the steel. "And see," he cried, "the welcome, fair guests, that waits you here! What noble Locomo comes next to taste our Roman cheer?" But at his haughty challenge a sullen murmur ran, mingled of hate and fear and dread along that glimmering van. There lacked not men of courage, nor men of lordly race, for all Etruria's noblest were round the fatal place. But all Etruria's noblest felt their hearts failed to see on the earth the bloody corpses, in the path the dauntless three, and from the ghastly entrance where those bold Romans stood, all shrank like boys who unaware, searching the woods to start a hare, come to the mouth of the dark lair where, growling low, a fierce old bear lies amid bones and blood. But meanwhile, axe and lever have manfully been plied, and now the bridge hangs tottering above the boiling tide. Get back, Horatius!" loud cried the fathers all. "Back, Spurius! Back, Herminius! Back, ere the ruin fall!" Back darted Spurius, Horatius. Herminius darted back, and as they passed beneath their feet, they felt the ruin crack. But when they turned their faces and on the further shore saw bold Horatius stand alone, they would have crossed once more. But with a crash like thunder fell every loosened beam, and like a dam the mighty wreck stands right athwart the stream. There we go. And a great shout of laughter rose from the towers of Rome, as to the highest turret tops was splashed the yellow foam, and like a horse unbounded when first he feels the rein, the yellow river struggled hard and tossed its tawny mane and burst the curb and bounded, rejoicing to be free, and whirling down in fierce career, battlement and plank and pier, rushed headlong to the sea. Alone stood brave Horatius, but constant still in mind, thrice 30,000 foes before, and the broad flood behind. "Down with him!" cried false Sextus, a smile on his pale face. "Now yield thee," cried last Porcina, "now yield thee to our grace." Round turned he, as not deigning those craven ranks to see. Naught spake he to last Porcina, to Sextus naught spake he. But he saw on Palatinus the white porch of his home, and he spake to the noble river that rolls by the towers of Rome. "O Tiber, Father Tiber, to whom the Romans pray, A Roman's life, a Roman's arms, take thou in charge today. And so he spake, and speaking, sheathed his good sword by his side, and with his harness on his back, plunged right athwart the tide. No sound of joy nor sorrow was heard from either bank, but friends and foes, in dumb surprise, with parted lips and straining eyes, stood staring where he sank. And when above the billows his head was seen once more, all Rome sent forth a rapturous cry, and even the ranks of Tuscany could scarce forbear to cheer. Never, I ween, did swimmer, in such an evil case, struggle through flood and hardship safe to the landing place, but his heart was borne up bravely by the brave heart within, and our good father Tiber bare bravely up his chin. And now he feels the bottom, now on dry land he stands, now round him throng the fathers to press his gory hands, and now, with noise of clapping and sound of weeping loud, he enters by the river gate, borne by the joyous crowd. They gave him of the cornland that was of public right, as much as 2 strong oxen could plough from morn till night, and they made a molten image and set it up on high, and there it stands unto this day, to witness if I lie. It stands in the Comitium, plain for all folk to see, Horatius in his harness, halting upon one knee, and underneath is written in letters all of gold, how valiantly he kept the bridge in the brave days